And her response was something along the lines of, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. I played Philip Glass to you in the womb." Programs and ideas into the market of many other things. I was
on a little road, a road that ended in a flowing stream. Oh shit, she said. Well, I'd still always choose the road less taken first. Thank you, Nancy. Maybe my role. Now, we get to hear from Nancy's three roommates from Cornell via the miracle of technology. Looking on the screen, you need to reposition yourself.
Should I still keep going?
I just want to check the volume, but I think you're good. Can everyone hear?
Okay, am I good?
Yes, you're good. Go ahead.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jen. I have with me Dawn in Chicago and Agnes in Aspen, hopefully, and I am in Summit, New Jersey. Nancy was our roommate at Cornell for 3 years and has been our lifelong friend for 50 years. Jan was kind enough to invite us to participate today and had the wonderful idea of asking us to share some memories of those 50 years with Nancy. While these memories flood us with sadness, they also help us remember and celebrate Nancy's life. And we didn't catch the live stream from earlier, but I'd like to just send a shout out to Jan, because when Nancy met Jan, she became so happy. And he cooked for her, he took her to Joshua Tree, he even came to one of the Cornell reunions. She found the love of her life, and I just want to thank you, Jan, for giving Nancy so much happiness. So here we go, 50 years in 5.5 minutes. I met Nan at the start of our freshman year in the College of Engineering. Hold on, here we go. She really thought she would be an engineer. At that time, women were only 10 to 12% of the class. We thought we would do it all. Career, mother, wife, activist, friend. Only Nan actually didn't do it all. As a freshman, she quickly realized that engineering was not for her and transferred to the College of Arts and Sciences to major in English. I'll always remember the night before paper was due, Nan would be furiously typing with her scribbled notes strewn all over her bed. Yes, that was back in the dark ages, before personal computers. She'd hand in her paper and boom, she'd get an A. She was a brilliant writer and it was seemingly effortless for her. I'm not sure how many of you know how incredibly gifted we are. Coy smile, the beautiful peaches and cream complexion, and that toss of her head saying, "Oh well." She was eternally optimistic, forever sweet and kind, and I will miss her terribly.
Hi everyone, Dawn Cassie here from Chicago. Also sorry we can't be there in person with you, but Nancy was a constant in our lives. Here she is at Genevieve's wedding in New York, and then at her own wedding in Pittsburgh. Also, It looks like we dragged our husbands along, and they had a lot of good times with Nancy as well. 1992 for my wedding here in Chicago. And finally, Agnes in 1993 in Tarrytown, New York. Nancy, ever chic, looking beautiful there. Not long after that, in 1998, our 4 daughters met each other at a college reunion. Hi, Tess. Here's the whole crew on the bridge going over the gorge, and then breakfast in the dorms after a long night. And there's the son's picture. Thank you, Reese, for being a kind, older friend to my son, Max. And finally, a pajama party in the dorms with all of the children. And winning the most tired-looking working moms award, Nancy and Tess came to Chicago to visit us. Our last college reunion was in 2018 with Nancy. We hiked the gorge and competed in an Iron Chef competition. There we are in our aprons, getting ready. The secret ingredient was ramen noodles, and we destroyed the hotel suite. After the reunion years, we'll skip ahead now. Go ahead, Agnes.
Hi everyone, Agnes from Colorado here. It's hard to believe that the 4 of us were together just 2 years ago, 2020. We started out in Provence, guarding luggage, trying to fit it all into a tiny car. Nancy loved to travel and always had a knack for finding the ideal accommodation. To that side or the other. We did lots of sightseeing in Provence, exploring local sites, oil tasting, castles, and enjoying each other's company. And of course, wining and dining in local restaurants and bistro. Here's Nancy evaluating the wine to make sure it was suitable for consumption. This is Guillaume, our truffle dog. He loved to bark and run around just like Lucy, Nancy's West Highland Terrier. And here we are after a hard day's work of truffle hunting, digging, tasting, and of course more eating. On the train, we went to our next adventure from Provence to Paris. Of course, we had to have an iconic photo of the Eiffel Tower with the 4 of us roommates in the foreground. Lastly, no one leaves Paris without doing serious shopping and enjoying the views from the Galerie Lafayette. We've come full circle from college roommates at Cornell, celebrating 50 years of love and friendship. We will always have Nancy in our hearts, and we will always have the memory of the times we shared together. Thank you.
Serving as the president of the board of directors of the Women's Law Project, Nancy realized a very proud achievement. But before we hear about that, here is a short excerpt from Nancy's oral history, which was recorded for the In Sisterhood Project. It recounts her earlier days in the women's movement shortly after she graduated from college. Here's Nancy in her own words.
do something. It was clear that the backlash against any kind of progressive movement, certainly the women's movement, was going to be very deep and very fierce. The kind of calls the class of the 80s. So I would say at least 10 women, very similar to my age and circumstance, just showed up in the Presbyterian church basement at Forbes and Murray, and really, as far as I've heard, had reinvigorated the chapter at that point, because it was kind of not faltering, but it was slow at that point. It was very collaborative. Again, we had co-presidents rather than single presidents, because we were all learning about leadership, and we found we learned a lot that way. Let's say how to reach consensus, how to solve problems, how to discuss issues and resolve, and do that in a very, again, collaborative, participative kind of environment, to duke it out, essentially. And also to have the self-confidence that, okay, I'm new to this, and yet I know that I bring something to this situation, and I can help move this group forward. So it's personal, but it's also, it was about the environment and the culture we were creating together.
So good to hear that voice again, isn't it? Yeah. I'm so sorry. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Sue Fritchie, and I am the executive director of the Women's Law Project. We are not the only organization that Nancy poured her heart and soul into, and I'm so honored to be here speaking today. So Nancy was my friend, my very wise advisor, my very patient mentor, and always my ally. She was a member of the Women's Law Project's Board of Trustees for about a decade, which is longer than our bylaws permit anyone to be a member of our Board of Trustees, but you know, we were not going to let that stop us. In that role, she just poured her time and passion and resources and so much creative energy into sustaining and growing that organization. I first met Nancy over what I remember to be an absolutely extravagant lunch that no public interest lawyer should be having. And it was arranged by our then board vice chair, Kathy Raphael, and she brought us together because she thought that we needed some help with communicating. You know, we did lawyering, we did litigation, but we didn't talk to people about it, and no one knew about us. And Kathy was right, we did need to communicate more and better. And Nancy was the perfect person to help with that because she was just unsurpassed as a marketer and a strategic communicator. That luncheon was a very lucky moment in Women's Law Project. They took us into their home for board meetings and planning sessions, and Jan would cook for us, which was amazing. Nancy's leadership as the chair of the Women's Law Project Board saw us through a difficult period of transition, the biggest in the organization's 50-year history. After 5, then the so-called winner would get a plaque showing their own witless quote and congratulating them on helping to raise money for the Women's Law Project. You can imagine, I mean, the psychological effect of this contest on our staff and supporters was just lovely. So every time someone said something horrifying, instead of getting all depressed, you were like, oh, that's gonna be so good for say what? As you can imagine, many years, the competition was fierce. And I leave it to you to guess who won for 2016. In 2017, it was held at Okoya, and it was one of the most